Since now that we are connected to our Google Drive account through our school Google account, I'm going to start by going to the New button, and I am going to click and go to More. And what I'm looking for is Google Forms. So I'm going to click Google Forms. Now let's focus on the top of the window and the choices that we have here. For example, by default, it is already checked off to require the Msad 75 login to view this form. This is basically for if I only want people from within the district to view the form, then I'm going to keep this checked. But if I want input from people outside of the district, basically from anywhere in the world, then I could uncheck this box and anybody would be able to complete this form, basically, that knew how to get to it. Next, we have automatically collect respondents' Msad username. This is a great time saver because then I do not have to spend any time making sure that my first question involves finding out what the student's name is. I can just get right to asking questions. If you are creating a survey, though, and you want the responses to be anonymous, then you would uncheck this box. Next, we have Show Progress Bar at the bottom of the form pages. Basically, if you have a very long assessment, quiz, survey, or form that involves several pages, you might want to let the user know where they are in the progress of completing the form. Letting them know that they have a couple more pages to go is a good thing. Also, if this is a quiz or an assessment, then only allowing one response per person, that would be important. And if so, you have to have it that they have to log in using their SAD 75 login in order to complete the form, and therefore only allow one response. Also, if you are giving an assessment and you have your students sitting relatively close to one another, you might want to consider shuffling the question order. This would be particularly if it didn't matter which order the questions were. All right, so those are some form settings. Now, once our form settings are the way we want them to be, I'm going to automatically collect respondents' SAD username. I'm going to give my form a title. And so I'm just going to click up at the upper right hand corner, Untitled Form, and I'm going to type in the title. In this case, it's going to be called Planets Quiz. And I'm going to click OK. All right, so now I also have a little item right here. You'll notice that this also changed from Untitled Form to the now title that I have, which is Planets Quiz. But just below that, I have a field that says Form Description. This is a place where I can provide some information about the quiz. In this case, I'm going to say, just do a little reminder. Make sure you hit the Submit button at the end of the quiz so that your answers will be sent to your teacher. All right, now next we have our question title, and it says Untitled Question. What that really is the question itself. This is where you're going to type in your question. And I'm going to type that in. It's going to be, what planet is known as the red planet? Question mark. All right, now I do have a place in here for some help text. I could offer a hint here. I could say, hint, it is fairly close to Earth. All right, and right now, just by default, it happens to be a multiple choice question. If I click the little arrow next to that, these are the different types of questions that I have available to me, or time. So I'm going to keep multiple choice here, and I'm going to start putting in my choices. So I'm going to put Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and those will be my choices. Now, I could also have checked off this right here, add other, which means it allows students to click other and then type in the answer that they would have put. That is a choice, but I'm not going to do that for this. Another thing I want to do, since this is a quiz, I want to do with each of the questions. I don't want kids to skip any, so I'm going to check off the box that says required question, because they're not going to be able to hit submit unless they have provided an answer for this question. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click Done. And what I could do now, which is kind of neat, is I can go to Add an Item. And if I wanted to add like a video or an image to this particular question, I could do that. I'm going to select Image. And I'm going to go up actually to the top of my screen, and I am going to find a picture of Mars by hitting a new tab. And there's a picture right there. I am going to copy the image URL, and then I'm going to go back to my quiz, and I'm going to click by URL and then paste in the URL that I just selected. I'm going to click select, and I'm not going to give it a title or anything. I am going to, however, change the size, because I certainly don't need it to be that large. Okay, and I'm going to click Done. All right, so next I am going to do my next question. And in this case, I am going to do choose from a list. And I'm going to put in my question next here. Let's see. What planet was recently downgraded to dwarf planet status? All right, and just like I did with my multiple choice question, I'm going to simply type in what my options are. All right, so I'm going to put in Saturn, Mercury, and Pluto. And then I'm going to click Done. And notice now, this is kind of how students will see the question. They see the question here, and then they have a drop-down box that they will have to choose from. Oops. But we'll leave that there. Okay. Here's the other thing too. You might notice too that as I hover over things, I have the little directional arrows there. If I wanted to, I could put this picture of Mars up above the question. Okay. Or I can make this question that I just did about Pluto be the first question. I'm able to kind of move things around as I want. It's just a drag and drop type of situation. Okay, I'm going to do one more question here. I'm going to click that down arrow, and I'm going to do check boxes in this case. And I'm going to put what planets orbit within the asteroid belt. And I'm going to put in the help text, check all that apply. And then I'm going to enter in all of the different planets. So I'll start with Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. I'm going to click required question and done. I don't know if I did that with the second one. Let's see. I'm going to go to the edit button here. And no, I didn't do that. So I'm going to make that a required question. Notice too that next to each question, there's this little star. That little star means that it is a required question. Here's another thing. If I wanted another multiple choice question, all right, I could, rather than clicking on it, I could hover over it and just go to this duplicate button. And now I have another one just like it. And now I could just change the question, change the choices. I mean, that's a possibility, but you might want to do that if you just had a lot of complicated ones. I'm going to click done, and I actually don't want that there. But let's say I wanted another question that had something to do with all of the planets. Rather than having to type that all again, I could just do the duplicate, and I'm going to change my question to what or which planets are known as the gas giants. And then I can click done, and now see, I didn't have to type in all the names of the planets once again. So that's kind of a little time saver, being able to duplicate a question, and then you can go and edit it right away. So I have finished entering all of my questions. So I'm going to click View Live Form up at the top here. This way I can see what it looks like to the students. If I were to send them to this quiz, this is what they would see. Okay, I look at it, and it's, you know, all my questions are in the order that I want them, and they are the types of questions I want, but they look kind of plain. So I'm going to go back to the tab that has my form in it where I'm editing it, and in this case I'm going to change the theme. All right, so I have a bunch of pre-made themes that I can choose from. And I scroll through, and what's nice about these themes is that they already have a predetermined header, a certain font, and the colors and sizes of the fonts and so forth. It's all predetermined, and you can see, like, just by clicking on one, what that's going to look like with your particular quiz or form, I should say. All right, and so once you find one, that's great, but you'll notice too that underneath it you can also customize it. So let's say I like the font, I like the colors of the fonts and the whole appearance, but I'm not really thrilled about, say, the header picture or the background and so forth. It looks kind of boring. So what I can do is I can click this little pencil that says customize, and I can change each of these things. Like if I want to change the header image, I'm going to click header image and then click change image. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look in my drive, or maybe look at recent. And here I've got a picture that I want to use, kind of goes with the theme here. And I'm going to use that as my header, but yet I kept that whole the font and color scheme of that theme that I was using. If I want to change my page backgrounds, I can change that as well. So if I want to take a look at what I have for pictures, let's see, I could go to my albums, and I could choose, let's say this. And so now in the background, I've got, a nicer looking picture rather than just having the plain old white. To make sure I do this as well is that before I go anywhere, I want to click View Responses. By clicking View Responses up at the top, what it does is it takes all of my information, all of my questions and so forth, and creates a Google spreadsheet called Planet Quiz Responses. And this is where all that data is going to get collected. When a student hits submit, all of the data that they entered in is going to get entered into this spreadsheet. And it's here that I'm going to go to in order to see if the students were correct or incorrect in what they answered. So this is where I would go to actually grade how they did it. So I'm going to go back to my quiz here where I can edit it. And now, how do I want students to be able to access this form or this quiz is kind of important. So I'm going to click where it says Send Form. Now, if students had email addresses, or if I had all my students in a group where they could get email addresses, then I would enter that in here where it says Send Form via email. The other choice that I have too is that I could get the Embed Code. That's the HTML code that you would use. I could copy this and then go to my website or go to my blog, and I could paste in this HTML code, and then students could see that when they go to the blog. The other choice that I have as well is to simply get the link to the page. All right, so this is the link just to share the page right here. But if I check off this little box, because that can get kind of long, it creates a short URL just for this form. And so then I would do Command C to copy that. And if I have, say, a website or a blog or even a Google Classroom, then I could go and I could paste that URL into, say, into the page, into the blog, and post it, or I could go in Google Classroom and post an announcement that has a link to the quiz. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to go, I have a Google Classroom here, and I'm going to create a new announcement. And this is going to be the Planets Quiz. And then I'm going to check link, and I'm going to paste in that short URL, and I'm going to click post. Now on the student side, they're going to see this right here, this Planet Quiz. They will click the link, and they will go right to the Planet Quiz. And so it's going to automatically collect their Google username. And so they can get started right with answering the questions. All right, so this is how to use Google Forms in order to create your own formative assessments.